All right, so I was watching Vegan Gains video where he was talking about the big, huge guy from Iceland who plays Mountain on Game of Thrones, who happened to get second place in the world's strongest man contest the last 5 years in a row. And he was just going off on him. Like, apparently he had just made a commercial where he was he was basically pitching a product where you can make sparkling water at home so you don't have to buy the plastic bottles because plastic bottles are bad for the environment. And he was saying he was just a sellout and everything because that's only 3% of the plastic bottle waste. Actually, 90% of it comes from just regular drinking water, and he's going off on all kinds of things. But the main focus of his video, like a lot of his things where he rips on people, is like, how can he care about the environment if he eats so much meat? And so that's the part of the video that I wanted to discuss because you may have heard about the fact that when all of a sudden there's something that becomes interesting to you, you start to see it everywhere. Like, say you're planning on buying a certain make and model of a car, all of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere because now like your subconscious is no longer blocking that out. You're actually focused and honed in on it. And so it changes your perception. And that is the same thing that occurs to us as vegans. Like, now that we're vegans, we're aware of all the information out there. We see every time it's listed somewhere. Whereas before we blocked it out because there's so much going on in life that you can only focus on so much. So you only focus on what matters. So a lot of people are just people. That's it. They're just people. They're not trying to be jerks. They're not trying to be bad. They're not trying to be evil. They don't want to torture animals. They don't want to destroy the environment. They just grow up. They're taught about the 4 food groups. They look in nature. They see animals killing each other all the time. They see the way the food chain works. There's not this evil, like, hypocritical stuff that Vegan Gains is always making it out to be. Like, this guy's a 6'9", 400-pound giant competing at the very top level of the strength world. And trust me, as a strength athlete, I'm just an amateur, but like, when you go into the forums, when you go and look at all the information in the community, they're always going off on like the beginning, the foundational part. You do like 5 sets of 5 reps of like the big 3 lifts, like the squat, the deadlift, and the bench press. And then you do other things like bent over rows and some of the field events. You'll move stones, you'll push big things. It's par for the course. And another thing that's par for the course is it varies where you look and stuff, but on average, I think it's about 1.5 grams of protein for every pound of body weight you have. That's what they recommend. That's the conventional wisdom. That's what they put out. Meat has a lot of protein. A majority of these strength athletes eat lots and lots of meat. That's like everyone around them's doing it, and all the people that they look up to, all their heroes, that's what they're doing. And they're emulating their heroes. They're emulating the people that have had success. That's what most people do. You want to become rich, you start looking at the richest people around you or the richest people that have written books and shared information, and you try to learn from their mistakes so that you can accomplish the same thing without going through the school of hard knocks. Well, people do the same thing in the strength world when they're trying to become the best. Rather than just fiddle around and experiment and make 100,000 mistakes and getting injured and stuff, they study the best strength athletes in the world and copy what they do. So that's the conventional wisdom out there. So just because someone eats a lot of meat doesn't mean they don't care about the environment. It means they're ignorant to the kind of impact that eating meat does. We know about it. We're exposed to it all the time. But most people are tuning that out. Their subconscious is overwhelmed by all the information in this world, and they're just trying to make their way through the world. And so they're just doing their best. So they don't have all that information. That's why it's important, the work that people like Patrick Bobamian, John Venus, Brian Turner, all these people are doing, where they're trying to get that information out there. Just put it out there. Don't condemn people, don't judge people, because the natural inclination to being attacked is to defend yourself, is to fight back. Whereas if you're just like, here's some information, if you're curious, check into it, people might do that. And people like coming to their own conclusions. They don't like being converted. But if they see something that makes sense to them, they might be like, well, I want to be consistent with my values, and then they might alter their choices in life. So I'm not saying there's just one way to do anything, but I do grow weary of vegan gains always making everyone out to be super evil or super hypocritical or any of that just because they eat meat. Because a majority of us ate meat. Like, some people may have been raised vegan, but a majority of us ate meat. 2 years ago, John Venus was not a vegan. 2 years ago, Brian Turner was not a vegan. 5 years ago, Vegan Gains wasn't a vegan. 2 years ago, I wasn't a vegan. I spent 40 years of my life eating meat. And so, just because we saw some facts and made good decisions doesn't mean that everyone else has seen those facts yet. And because a majority of the world isn't vegan yet, there's a lot of social ramifications and stuff to going vegan. It's a lot more challenging than just going with the flow, and there's a lot of challenges in life. It's not like people are just being douchebags. So I kind of grow weary of that sometimes. I understand why he says the things he does, because it is pretty horrific, some of the stuff that's happening. It's disheartening, the climate change stuff, the rainforest stuff, all the horrible conditions in the dairy and meat industry. But I just feel like you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar, and I don't like the way he vilifies everyone just because they eat meat. I agree that the impact of it isn't good, but I don't think the people need to be vilified. I just think you just got to keep putting the information out there and let people see it. That's what you just got to do. Just get the information out there.